Chamberlain averaged 50 points a game. He probably averaged 75 a game if we were playing today.
Today, we put that to the test as Wilt Chamberlain joins the modern NBA. Picked 3rd overall in the draft, ironically joining the Sixers just like he did in 1959, and the impact on the team was apparent right away. Already scoring well into the 20 points per night range, while averaging a double-double en route to this season's Rookie of the Year. Seeming to fit into the modern NBA just fine early on, but can he have the same success he did in the 60s? Because we're only giving him 10 seasons in this experiment to attempt to earn 4 MVPs and 2 rings, just like he did in his era in that time frame. But luckily for him, he was joining a team already somewhat established in the East, with an all-star guard in Maxey, and more interestingly, when healthy, a star big man Embiid by his side, creating a fearsome twin tower dynamic. Wilt and Joel's inside game would look to take advantage of opposing bigs, leading to the top record in the East, but this big man game plan was about to be put to the test. Because while the first round of the playoffs against the Raptors was a walk in the park, round 2 would be a matchup with the one team somewhat prepared to battle these two titans. Cleveland featured a front court of 2 very high-level paint defenders, and while Chamberlain was still finding ways to score, pouring in about 23 points per game through the series, it was clear they were making things very difficult, which would be an issue with Donovan Mitchell on the other end lighting up the scoreboard with basket after basket, outclassing Maxey by a long shot despite him playing some of his best basketball yet, as the Cavaliers pushed the Sixers to their absolute limits. After a back and forth duel, everything would be knotted up for a Game 7. So with his season on the line, Wilt was on fire, playing like an experienced vet despite only being in year 1, giving Sixers fans hope that they could survive to make their first conference finals since 2001 as halftime approaches with a slight edge over Cleveland. But unfortunately, the second half was night and day to the first. Donovan Mitchell came out of the intermission like a man possessed, with an outburst of 41 points in the second half alone, and while it was a valiant effort by Philly in year 1, they'd ultimately run out of gas in the end. It was looking good for the Sixers, 37 points for Wilt, but Donovan Mitchell just caught on fire in the second half. The season's over in a blowout loss in a Game 7, but great rookie year for Wilt. Let's see if he can build on it next season. One thing about Wilt, though, is he is a bona fide competitor, and after the disappointment, he'd spend the following offseason working on his game, looking to build upon the strides they took in Season 1, which would prove to be most beneficial to Chamberlain, who would see an enormous jump to his averages, taking the league by storm as he wins the Most Improved Player award, justifying his work throughout the offseason, and yet, that wouldn't even be the biggest highlight of the year. A huge year for Chamberlain concludes with the regular season MVP, 30 points per night, 15.5 rebounds per game, 3 blocks. I'm honestly pretty impressed. Meaning now in just Season 2, he's already inching closer to his goals in the modern NBA. But as the playoffs roll around, falling to the 8th seed, you have to wonder, how did they plummet so far down? Well, in short, the obvious answer was the decline of Joel Embiid this year, who was having his worst season of his career. And that wasn't all. Philly's depth was slashed from a year before, as the Sixers struggled with salary caps due to paying a podcaster $50 million a year. But regardless of all that, the 8th seed was still enough to be in the postseason, and the MVP was putting his team on his back, not only upsetting the first seed of Pistons, but then to go on to round 2, where he'd face the Raptors for the second year straight with the same results, winning the round easily to advance to Philadelphia's first conference finals since Allen Iverson led them nearly 30 years ago. It would seem that the planets were aligning for a finals trip as they luck out facing the 7th seeded Wizards in round 3. So with all the momentum on his side, Chamberlain was dominating the conference finals, confirming all the legendary stories of his accolades in the 60s as he dismantles everybody in his way in the East, winning up the conference, turning all the doubters at the start of the playoffs into believers now as they head into the finals.
And the celebration will begin. The Dallas Mavericks are NBA champions.
Only to be crushed by the Dallas Mavericks in the championship round. Questioning if this season was all just one big fluke. Did Chamberlain just get lucky in the East? Can he truly contend in a modern, more skilled era? Well, the following season certainly wouldn't help his case, facing the Boston Celtics in round 2, where Chamberlain was indeed playing at a very high level after averaging similar numbers to the season prior, even if it didn't lead to another MVP, but the same problems would glare their heads again. Boston may have been losing a battle in the paint versus Wilt, but they were fully taking advantage of the remaining matchups, as their star players were creating a large enough gap in competition that regardless of how well Wilt played, he wouldn't be able to shrink. With the Celtics winning the series after 5 games, and things only looked to get worse, as the next year, Philly's third option, Jared McCain, was leaving in free agency to the Pelicans, meaning now it was practically only the duo of Maxey and Wilt who were playing at a high level on their roster. But in the end, that may not be such a bad thing. Maxey was personally averaging near the 30 points per night threshold, cementing himself as a bona fide second-team All-NBA and one of the best guards around the league. Meanwhile, Chamberlain was continuing to put up unbelievable numbers, leading the league in double-doubles, as he and Maxey by this point have completely synced their chemistry. But as they surprised the world with the first seed, the question still stands. Can Wilt lead this team to a ring? Well, day by day, it was looking more and more possible, soaring through the East round by round, with practically no issues in their way, all until they'd make a statement in the conference finals, with a soul-crushing sweep, landing Philly a trip back to the NBA Finals to address some unfinished business. But first, we got to talk about today's sponsor, DraftKings Pick6. And don't skip the ad just yet. Trust me on this one. I love playing Pick6, and I'm sure you will too. Pick6 is DraftKings' newest fantasy game. You simply pick between 2 to 8 players, and whether you think they'll get more or less of a stat. And Pick6 can turn a few bucks into a bag as you ride the upside. Competing against other players where 6 NBA picks guarantees you a 25 times payout, but it can soar up to 800x if you beat the competition. This type of upside you can only get on DraftKings Pick6, and lucky for you, when new DraftKings customers play $5 or more, they'll get $50 in Pick6 credits. So get in on the action today. Use the link in the description or the pinned comment and use my promo code Allen to sign up now and start enjoying Pick6 just as much as me. Once again, a huge shout out to DraftKings Pick6 for sponsoring today's video. Now let's go ahead and get back to the NBA Finals. Just a couple seasons ago, the Sixers were humiliated in a sweep against the Mavericks, clearly exposing their inexperience. So now, with a few years under their belt, they looked to rewrite those wrongs, and the only man in their way was Ja Morant. But this wouldn't be a walk in the park. Ja was a perennial MVP candidate by this point after cleaning up his act to focus on basketball, and he was giving the favored Sixers a run for their money, stealing the first game for an early edge in the series, which at first glance seemed to be an outlier, as the second game, Wilt and Maxey combined for 86 points in a blowout win to tie everything up, only for Morant to prove their first victory was no coincidence, firing off 2 more consecutive victories, putting the Sixers at risk of elimination just as quick as they got here. But Wilt wasn't letting go without a fight. In the face of overwhelming odds, he was clawing back into the series, taking things game by game to get everything back to an even playing field for one final game, which, just as a reminder, already in year 4, with no progress to his championship goals, there was a lot at stake here. Although, as we've seen time and time again, Chamberlain was rising to the occasion, elevating his game to give his team a fighting hope. And while he kept them within arm's reach for the majority of the game, the Grizzlies simply seemed to have the edge as they kept Philly at bay up to the final moments, with only a few possessions left, as we wondered, can Wilt pull off one final miracle? Philly is trailing in a Game 7 by 3. Wilt Chamberlain has a chance to win his first ring, but he also may potentially go home a loser here. They're going down low to Wilt. With Edie on him. Wilt, the shimmy, couple of fakes. Nowhere to go in the post. Is he going to force it? He kicks out to DiVincenzo. 7 seconds left on the shot clock. No way you get clamped in the paint by Zach Edey if you're Wilt Chamberlain. 3 seconds. Terrible possession. Terrible. Coward with the steal. The Grizzlies now a chance to extend the lead. Hollins, he gets denied in the corner. Who's it out on? Grizzlies ball. That was one of the worst offensive possessions I've ever seen on both ends. Both sides with terrible possessions. Hollins throws it out of bounds. The Sixers are catching a break. I don't know what kind of finish this is. Somehow Philadelphia has another chance. They're going back down low to Wilt. Wilt has to force the issue this time. Wilt to turn around. The pump fake. Still nowhere to go. Wilt gives it to DiVincenzo again. Chamberlain cannot find an opportunity to score. His dominance not showing. Maxey to pull up Jay. Hits off. He gets his own rebound. The putback is good. Still after the Maxey heroics. You're trailing by 1, and Ja Morant with the crossover has the ball. A chance to extend their lead. Sizing up Maxey. Getting to the paint. Half spin. Nowhere to go. Ja, great defense from Tyrese. Morant in the paint, though. He's going to have to force it. 3-second violation incoming. Ja has to go up. He gets blocked. He gets blocked. Wilt the rebound. Chamberlain gives it over to Maxey with 50 seconds remaining in the game. Tyrese Maxey. DiVincenzo, they're going to Wilt. Chamberlain in the post. They get it to him. Third time's the charm. Wilt, he shoots it quick this time. It's good. His fade is good. Don't get too excited, though. The game is far from over. Memphis still with about 40 seconds left in the game. They have a lot of time. With no more mistakes, they could reclaim the lead. Ja Morant with the ball. He's trying to drive it in. He is driving it in. This is disgusting. Ja over two defenders somehow gets off a shot and gets fouled. Ja with a remarkable circus shot. You know how he got enough space to shoot that. Hits both free throws. Memphis takes the lead back. Philly, though, off the inbound, coming up the timeout. Tyrese Maxey with it now. They have an opportunity to take the lead back and win this game 7. DiVincenzo on the left side. Looks like they're trying to get the ball down low to Wilt. They do go to Wilt Chamberlain. Yet again, Wilt, their MVP. The Hezzy, another post fade. Wilt does it again. Wilt Chamberlain for the lead. Chamberlain refuses to lose, it seems. But now it's going to all come down to defense. 13 seconds left in the game. Morant with the ball. An opportunity to win this for Memphis. Tyrese is guarding him. Morant one-on-one. Edie's just kind of in the way. Setting the screen now. Morant the spin move. Driving to the paint. Ja losing his dribble. Has to force one. Ja Morant. 0.4 left. You have to heave it full court. Morant might have just ended their season. He doesn't get it off in time. It's over. Wow. And after a heart-wrenching defeat, Memphis goes on to become NBA champions. And as far as Ja Morant, just to foreshadow, we will be seeing more of him soon enough in a few years. But for now, our focus is back to Wilt, who heading into the offseason as a free agent would have a huge decision ahead of him.
Seriously, this is beyond the 80s Showtime Lakers that I loved and covered.
Wilt has decided to join the Los Angeles Lakers. Just like in his era, the Big Dipper ended up back in the purple and gold, and the expectations were through the roof for this team. Paired with Luka Doncic, this was the pinnacle of what his play could look like in a two-man game. With such a strong facilitator, averaging around 11 assists per game, and also being able to draw on the defense with his own scoring abilities, it would be like a dream come true for Wilt. The court was wide open for him, and the new change of scenery gave a major spark to his career, benefiting from the extra playmaking available. But at the end of the day, we've seen this story before in the regular season, and the true test would still be in the playoffs, where they'd make it to the conference finals to face a very deep OKC Thunder roster, still led by SGA, desperately eager to make it back to the finals after winning in 25. The Thunder were favorites to win with a deeper bench and more well-rounded starting lineup, but the two-man tandem of Doncic and Chamberlain were confident that they could match any team. So after both sides exchanged blows back and forth in a close series, the Lakers would eventually find themselves barely squeaking by, winning the Western Conference in a tight 7 games to now prepare for one final hurdle.
Basketball's biggest stage, the NBA Finals. It begins here. And in our matchup tonight, we'll see the Los Angeles Lakers going up against the Philadelphia 76ers.
Ironically, Wilt was facing his old team, who just so happened to finally rounded their team with some new talent. With the freed up cap space after moving on from Wilt and Embiid, they would add Cat and Tatum to the mix. And Jason in particular had his way with Wilt just a couple seasons back, and would look to do the same here, taking a stunning 1-0 lead early in the series, giving a sense of deja vu for Wilt, yet again trailing in the finals, but it could very well be the last, as at this point all of the tests were behind him. He may have slipped up in game 1, but every following game he'd hunt down Karl-Anthony Towns, disregarding any defense, firing off win after win, all until the job was finished. Finally, after 5 seasons in the league, Wilt has become an NBA champion, bringing the Larry O'Brien back to the city of Los Angeles, cementing himself amongst the ranks of the elite in the modern NBA, which means he's now finally making progress on his ring goal, and with 5 seasons remaining, he very well could complete his tasks. Because the following season, as they celebrate their ring ceremony, the Lakers would make improvements to the team and prepare to run it back, ending up back in the NBA Finals again, this time against the Nets. And while they had a deep young core, they lacked any veteran presence that could compete with the experience and talent in LA. And Wilt was taking advantage, sinking in 38 points per game during the finals. And while it may have been impressive for them to make it here, their story would end swiftly as the Lakers sweep Brooklyn in what could be signaling the start of a dynasty here, crushing Wilt's ring goal with the sky the limit what he can achieve. And he wasn't stopping at the ring goal, because the next year was one of his best in a while, finally earning his second MVP selection as he was smooth sailing with his sights set on a three-peat this year. But in the way would be an old friend, McCain in New Orleans, which by all accounts would be your typical round 2 matchup where the defending champs look to steamroll their competition. But to fans' amazement, the Pelicans were running away with this one. McCain was scorching hot, leading the charge to take a remarkable 3-win advantage in the series. But it may have all been a hoax because the repeat champs were clawing back game by game, and it was beginning to look like we may witness NBA history, attempting to be the first team to come back from 3-0 as they force a Game 7. Although LA would find themselves in a hole from the jump, not leaving a single minute of the game, and still trailing closely late, we'd see if history would be made. Chamberlain and the Lakers, I don't even know how this is possible. Down by 1 in the 4th of a Game 7 against the Pelicans, on top of the NBA world, 2 championships, and then to come to this point, Jared McCain, the hero all series, gets fouled. I never thought that a single video on this channel would have a Jared McCain antagonist for our star, but here it is. Down by 3, hits both free throws. The Lakers now do or die time. They go down low to Luka. The double team comes. Rui for 3 to tie the game. He gets it to go. The Pelicans now have a chance to reclaim the lead. I don't even know anyone in this court except McCain. Number 8 drives to the... Who is this guy? The Lakers with the ball now. Luka has it. We haven't seen Wilt Chamberlain touch the ball yet in this stretch. Luka, he had a wide open paint, pulls it up though, and it goes in. Jared McCain and the Pelicans now. Both sides are trading baskets. It's a back and forth affair. McCain gets into a crowd of paint, nowhere to go, slowing things down. 13 seconds left on the shot clock. McCain driving the paint. McCain finds a Geekigizi. His lay is off. He gets the board though. That's off. That's off. Wilt the rebound. LA now an opportunity to take the lead. This would be huge. Sochan gets fouled. Sochan missed the first free throws. This really how this dude shoots free throws one-handed. He hits the second one, 1-point game. I can't even believe we got to this point, but somehow the Pelicans have a chance to take the lead late in this Game 7. We've seen Wilt in a similar position before against John Morant, who ended up beating them in the final seconds many years ago. Now can the Pelicans get the job done here? 15 seconds left in the game. McCain is running down the clock. One-on-one here. Jared McCain, it's all him. His team, the Pelicans. He finds the corner. Derek Queen, Chukazunis. His difficult 3. It's off. Queen the board to the putback. Unbelievable. I can't believe this. Not again. Not again. The Lakers, unless they can squat this inbound, are at risk of losing this game. Wilt getting gamed again. Luka, a tough 3 for the win. It's off. And just like that, the Lakers season comes to a screeching halt. The MVP came up short, and this loss could have a lasting impact on the Lakers' confidence. As in the next season, Chamberlain would be awarded his first Defensive Player of the Year, but that would be the last highlight of the season, with other teams taking advantage of a Lakers roster who seemingly lost their touch, falling out of the playoff rotation for the first time in Wilt's career. But as we know by now, he isn't one to falter during adversity. Our star would come out in the 2034 season with a vendetta, having the absolute best year that he's had to date. Not only landing his second straight Defensive Player of the Year, but also earning the rights as this season's MVP, which was perfect timing. With only 1 season remaining to complete his goal of 4, he'd have just enough time to get it done. However, first he'd look for a chance to win another ring, back in the playoffs after missing last year, and the MVP was dominating the Nuggets. But unfortunately, it wasn't showing in the results, because a near 40-year-old Jokic was finding a way to keep his team in the driver's seat, somehow ending the Lakers season with a shocking defeat, which would start another era for Wilt, as a free agent again, with a new home pending, joining the Chicago Bulls for his last run in this simulation. And he had some new firepower with him, teaming up with an old foe, John Morant, to create potentially the most athletic duo ever, just in time for the peak of Wilt's prime, continuing to flirt with a 30-point double-double average for the year. But the question we all need the answer to, was it enough to claim one more MVP? The MVP does end up going to Luka. I kind of feel like Wilt got a little bit snubbed here. Maybe he should have had it. He ends up with 3 MVPs, doesn't get to the 4 for his goal. Still doing great in this era though, and at least now, can he maybe win 1 extra ring to make up for the MVP? Well, he'd at least have the chance, as the Bulls make it to the finals relatively easily to face a Thunder team that Wilt has some Game 7 history with in the past. But this one wouldn't be the same back and forth marathon from 2030. This time around, the Thunder were in full control, up 3-1, but with the lead late in Game 5, Wilt still had hope. Wilt and the Bulls are not in exactly the best situation, trailing the series 3-1, but in Game 5 they have a chance. They're up by 1 late. If they can hang on, the series can get extended. Number 3 for OKC, trying to drive in on VJ Edgecombe, who's playing fantastic defense. This guy can't go anywhere. I don't even know who this is. He's trying to force the issue. What kind of basketball is this that we're watching? 3 seconds left. 2K, do not bail this guy out. It's off. Chicago now trying to extend their lead. Edge come on the other end. He's off on this end. This is some of the worst offense I've seen in my life. Chet with the ball now. Please do not give it back to number 3. This time Leonard for 3. It's off again. This guy stinks. Who is this guy? The Bulls now with another opportunity to expand on their 1-point advantage. You have John Morant here on the right side. They're looking to get down low to Wilt. Ja, the pull-up. It rattles in there. This is undoubtedly one of the strangest jump-ins I've ever seen. Leonard again driving into the paint, this time forcing his side. Wilt with the denial. OKC still has plenty of time, though. This one is far from over. To inbound to Chet. Leonard again. I don't know who this guy is, but apparently he is their go-to guy. He's driving into the paint. Denied again by Wilt. Russo with the rebound. 40 seconds left. He's on the break by himself. In the corner. Ahmed for 3. It's off. That would have been the dagger. OKC now still with plenty of time. Leonard again. We've seen it over and over. Leonard this time draws the foul in the basket. I checked. Apparently this guy was drafted in 2028. Leighton Leonard. I don't know if it's a 2K creative guy or if this is someone in like the 10th grade right now in real life. Nonetheless, he ties the game up for OKC. Chicago timeout. Wilt Chamberlain is unfortunately at risk of yet another collapse in a close jump-in. Tied ball game, 30 seconds. They go to Wilt. His own destiny is in his hands. Wilt Chamberlain in the paint, overpowering him. Wilt's layup is off. OKC the board. We have already seen it twice in this video. Wilt Chamberlain losing to an opposing team's clutch shot. Can they get a stop here and force an overtime? Leonard with the ball. VJ on him. We've seen some great defense in this one-on-one matchup before. Can we see it again for the stop? In the biggest moment of the season, year 10 for Wilt, the final year of this simulation. Leonard with the ball, getting the screen, coming around the screen. VJ is there to pull up. Oh my, what is going on? I've never seen anything like this on any videos. Wilt cannot catch a break in the clutch in any of these games. Down by 3, about 3 seconds left. You have to go for the 3 to tie, try to force an overtime, and these idiots go into the unbelievable. I can't believe it. 0.7 left. They're gonna have to instantly inbound and heave it. They wasted their entire clock. Russo on the inbound. Morant. Oh my goodness. Wow. And after falling here in year 10, Wilt's simulation comes to an end. But at only 32 years old, who knows what his future could hold? But as far as our goals, he fell just slightly short. And you'll have to be the judge on if he fit well into the modern era of basketball.